He's not a bat, he's a man who fights crime. And we're gonna watch him fight for a minute at a time. With John and Dael, and I guess you just rhyme with Bat Minute!
Look, up in the sky, it's a bird. It's a plane. It's a film with so many coincidences crammed into the plotline that even Les Miserables would turn its back in shame and disgust. Yes, we are here in Bat Minute once again to talk about another hiatus episode. I am one of the hosts, Dael Kingsmill.
And I am your other host, John Parker, who it sounds like I'm going to be the one defending the movie yet again.
We'll see.
We'll see, because I'm just going to put this out there. I loved it.
I anticipated you were going to love it in advance anyway, John, to be fair. So I think that's sort of become your thing now, just to be like, it's trash. Yeah, I loved it. Yeah, that's fine.
Well, let me say this up front, right? I watched it, thought this was fantastic. Let me go online and look at the discourse about this movie. I didn't know it was hated. I didn't know it had like 8% on bloody Rotten Tomatoes.
You'll be surprised, John. I didn't hate it either. But anyway, it's not a good film, but we'll get to it. We'll get to it. But we also have up in the sky. It's two guests. Returning from the first time together since the last time they were on together, which I believe was the eerily similar in many ways Hercules in New York episode.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Was it that long ago?
Yeah. But we have, once again, Dael Kingsmill and Omar Najam.
Hello.
Hello. All stars.
Yeah. We had to put on the big guns for what is one of DC's most infamous entries. One that's potentially more infamous than Batman and Robin.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, this is of course 1984's Supergirl. So everybody, what did y'all think of Supergirl?
Okay. Listen, I'm hearing some tone in Dale's voice. So would you like to go first, Dael?
I would just like to preface this entire discussion by telling you that yesterday, I just wanted the people to know. I just want the people to know where we're coming from. Okay,
this is not
it's
important.
That Omar is the one to suggest.
Riveting.
He said we should watch it together, and I said, yeah, sounds great. Let's hop on. Let's watch it together.
Away.
And then we were chatting just beforehand, and he sort of said, "Oh, should we have cameras on or cameras off?" And I said, "Well, I suspect that you want the cameras off so that you can fall asleep during the movie."
So I could pay attention to the Criterion level filmmaking.
When I tell you that he fell asleep mid-conversation, I need you to understand. I know the exact moment that you fell asleep because you were responding and then you weren't responding. And you were so
He was just
asleep.
into it then, that's it.
Yeah, I just kept talking to myself out loud just in case you woke up. But you didn't. You didn't. So it was just me talking to myself. And occasionally you would go, huh?
I responded?
No, not responded.
It's deep concentration.
That was you just spontaneously making sounds.
Ah.
Well, what a horrifying way to be described, first of all. And second of all, here was my experience, because from my perspective, it was a little bit different. From my perspective, we sat down to watch the movie, across the planet. We have technology now where we can do this.
What?
We boot it up. It starts to go. I close my eyes. I open them at 6 a.m. And I was like, wait, what just happened? And I quickly scrambled to check my messages. And Dale was like, well, good night.
So this was after the words Faye Dunaway appeared on the screen, I'm assuming. And you're just like, oh,
Well, I am curious, what is the last thing you remember seeing?
Well, okay, here's the issue. This movie performs like a dream. So
that is true.
there's a bleed, a pretty distinct bleed that I experienced where it would be very difficult for me to tell you.
Like, okay, for example, when you went back to watch the rest of it today, did you start from the beginning?
No.
Okay, where did you start from?
I started from the first like Supergirl like city saving scene.
Yeah, okay, that is exactly because you fell asleep literally the moment after she saved Ethan from the digger machine.
Yes.
I'm amazed you remember the name Ethan.
I am too, frankly. I am too. I was going to say that gardener that I hate, but then I remembered at the last second.
I have to ask, though, Dael, because, like, specifically we had to talk about Supergirl after we finished our Mask of the Phantasm season, because there's a direct tie-in to Mask of the Phantasm through one of the members of the cast. But you in particular should know who it is, because you've talked about him with us outside of Mask of the Phantasm as well. Do you know who played Ethan in this masterpiece? That is, in fact, one Hart Bochner, who you may recall played Arthur Reeves in Mask of the Phantasm, and also Ellis in Die Hard. That's
oh my God, it was Ellis.
John Boy.
Oh my God,
it blew my mind. I can't see it.
Oh my God.
That beard does so much for him. Like, that beard just really transforms him.
Maybe that's one of the contributing factors to why I hated him. I mean, not that, like, the actor does a perfectly competent job. I don't hate the actor, but maybe that Ellis slime just carried over.
You're right. Okay, we're going to jump around. This isn't going to be going through second by second, right? So let's just talk about it. I love the movie, of course, but I have an issue. It's not perfect, but the main issue is that whole love story. There's no need for that whatsoever.
Well, this is how I knew Omar was asleep, because I said, oh no, he's not going to be her love interest, is he? And then there was no response from Omar after we'd been talking.
But Omar might have been just like, he also might have been just like, I don't know how to respond to that as well. I got some bad news for you. He's not only her love interest, he is apparently like everybody's love interest. Everyone is all about Ethan.
According to one of the characters in the film that we will talk about, who I think is an icon, he is private property.
You know what I found so weird as well? It's like, so he's got the spell put on him.
Yeah.
You know, so the first person he sees, you know, he'll fall in love with. And I know it's a spell, I know it's magic, but still, someone sat down and went, you know what? He should fall in love with a schoolgirl.
Yeah.
Well, that's everything about, like...
And then we're just, like, meant to be fine with their romance as well. And I'm like, but this... Okay. But it began with a love spell that fully changed his personality.
I was throughout the entire thing, completely baffled as to what age Linda Lee, or, you know, Kara, as you know...
Yeah, but she's playing a schoolgirl.
Well, that's the thing, because when we first start out on Argo City at the beginning, which is just one of those, like...
Oh, I know where this is going. This is confusing. Yeah.
But just even just the basic setup of, like, us being introduced to... Oh, there's a city of Krypton that just got away, or Krypton, as Marlon Brando would call it in the movie.
Krypton.
Like, floated away, and then just remember, like, it's, you know, it's always bad to compare anything to, like, just a better movie, but, like, remembering the opening of Superman in 78, where it begins with the close-ups closing in on Krypton and the John Williams score doing and then you see the sets, and it's just so weird looking, and so, like, the brightness of the whites is so, like, oh my God, it's beautiful. It's so weird as well. And then to go on to the city of Argo, which is like the insides of a nicotine-stained melted wedding cake. And it's just like, this looks awful. Oh God.
I love that you've described my this year's Christmas theme for my party. I really appreciate that, because I have a bunch of cellophane and styrofoam laying around. I thought we already have the tree design thanks to Zoltar, so I really do. It's pretty much already done.
He was working hard in that tree, but
it's a tree, I think.
There's so many questions asked later on. The classic Helen Slater delivering the classic line of "What's a dingleberry?" I was like, oh my God, this film has everything.
It really does. I love his weird little magic wand he creates things with as well, because it just
Yes.
looks like they spent about $1 making it.
Oh, that whole opening scene with Peter O'Toole showing up to get his paycheck. Like,
Yes.
again, probably just friends with Brando, and just like, yeah, Marlon said they paid him like $10 million for 5 minutes work. It was amazing. So he shows up, and then everything, because I have to say, I love Helen Slater in this. I think she's actually doing a great job.
She does an incredible job. Actually, a lot of the actors are doing a great job.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's Zoltar, Kara, the witches, they're bringing it. They
Oh,
absolutely
the
are.
witches are camp as anything.
Oh,
They're so super queer, I
incredible.
think.
Yes.
But my big problem, though, was that it took a while to adjust to Kara as a character, and also I don't think I ever quite did, because when she's having a conversation with Zoltar, I'm not sure, is she supposed to be like 18, or is she supposed to be like 8? Because when he pulls out that, like, the power source of the whole city that he's just keeping in his pocket, like,
As you do, just perfectly walk around with the entire thing keeping everyone alive.
yeah. And he gives it to her, and he has the kind of attitude of like, oh, here's a ball. Perhaps you'd like to bounce it.
Yes.
She's just sitting on the floor with a magic wand and just like, and she looks like a little kid. And then so I was like, all right. Is this
Yeah,
like
have you
a
ever
Lion-O
had
of the
a-
Thundercats thing where like her body is grown up, but her mind is still...
It was
and it's
very odd because okay. So when they're back in Argo, they're talking about like her maths classes and stuff. Okay, but she's not in school. We know that
Six-dimensional
school.
math.
We know, sixth-dimensional geometry. We know that the class is in session. She is not in class, but she is talking to Zoltar about how she's struggling with maths. Okay. And then she gets in the pod, which we're going to have to come back to her getting in the pod because I have so many questions. But then while she's in the pod, her hair grows, she's suddenly wearing the Supergirl outfit, and it's like,
wow.
okay, she's older now. So I, foolish as I am, assumed that time had passed while she was traveling. Also because I'm, familiar with the basics of the Supergirl story. I was like, time has passed. But no, okay. But on Earth, she's still in school. But maybe she shouldn't be in school, but she is in school, and she's good at sixth-dimensional geometry now.
I couldn't tell
And-
what level of school it was, because it could be like, oh, this is a university they're
No,
going to.
that was fully high school. That was fully
yeah.
high school. Yeah.
Like, for someone who was already cutting class, like on Argo, to then be like, oh, now I'm on Earth, I better start going to school, even though I need to find this thing, otherwise my planet is going to be destroyed or whatever.
I'm gonna be real. Her motives for the whole first half of the film, maybe the first 2/3 of the film, are very confusing. Because she'll just be like, okay, she's having a fun time on Earth. I get it. She lands. She's like, oh, school kids. Oh, I can blend in. And I'm like, okay, I'm on board. And then she flies around and her magic Fitbit goes off. And you're like, oh, okay. So she's searching for the Omega Hedron. Okay. But then she lands and has a fight with some would-be rapists.
Oh, that bit was
But
quite dark.
Yeah. And yet it's depicted like a comedy scene. And then she just flies back to school. And it's like, oh, so I guess you're not searching for the Omega Hedron?
That scene was a good indication of future talent, because that one of those muggers, like, but the whole time I was like, is this the origins of Nick and Eddie from Gotham City at the beginning of Batman 89? Where the guy will get wheeled away, he's like, I'm telling you, man, a giant broad, and just like they get wheeled away, but like, nah, say a 6-foot Supergirl walking around. But yeah, one of them was, of course, Matt Frewer, who would go on to be, amongst many, many, many things, Max Headroom. Of course, was his big thing.
Oh my god, no way.
But he has a line delivery, though, because I think she says to him, like, why are you doing this? And he just
Is
goes
that
like,
why I recognized him?
oh yeah, he's in tons of stuff, that guy.
Oh
yeah.
my god.
But he says, like, it's just the way we are. And it's just like, he says it with such like a
So
chilling
menacing,
presence.
yeah.
And I was like, oh, you could see, like, if anyone else was watching it, would be like, oh, that guy was good.
Like
we should get him
some
another
would
song.
say maybe an unnecessary menacing energy. It was spooky.
Yeah.
It's a huge precursor to the Zack Snyder tone in a way that I think no one would have ever put a single penny on if they were betting that this is like... And then we're gonna get to a point where this will be like more of a domineering a take on the DC universe. It just it starts because we were watching and we're just like, okay, we're following this. Then there's a cool glass wand. I love that. That's great. Oh, the ball's out there. Okay. Oh, we got maybe some powers. Oh, it flies out of the water. And then when we get to that part, it was just like, okay.
It's Supergirl. She's in the real world now.
Yeah.
Oh my god! I didn't realize Matt Frewer is so many people that I know. He's from Orphan Black. He's from Dawn of the Dead. He's the voice of Panic in Hercules.
It's kind of like he's also. I always thought Matt Frewer. He's like a more palatable Jim Carrey in a lot of ways.
He's in 12 Monkeys, the TV series. I'm watching that right now.
Oh my god! Dale will not stop talking about the 12 Monkeys TV series.
That's not a lie.
That's what the rest of this episode is going to be about.
Because we watched half an episode and then we thought maybe we should watch the movie for context, and we watched the movie and we didn't like it. And then we watched the short film that the movie was based on and we also didn't like it.
Oh, the movie's great. Oh, I say that. I haven't watched it in about 15 years.
I recently watched that short film as well.
It's such a slog. The short
film is made up of photographs, which I didn't know. But you're watching it, it's like it's intense French accent and just
photographs and just like French science ASMR where they're going.
You're selling it to me. I'll be honest.
Yeah. It's on YouTube for free.
It's called La Jetée, and my sister was like, "Oh, do you reckon that means the jetty?" And I was like, "Why would it mean jetty? Why would it mean that? Like, you've just chosen one sound and been like, let's just make that match the French. Like, sure, it'll be the jetty." And then I looked it up and it was the pier. So, yep.
It's basically the same.
It's the jetty. I've never been so upset in my life. Anyway.
But I do have to say, though, like, this is because on the Batman at the main show, so many times, in recent times, particularly when on the verge of the Batman coming out, where it seemed to be going like even more into the Nolan realistic, it's dirty and gritty and grimy, and I was just like, the time has come to laugh again with Batman too, man. Can you do something a little bit lighter? And I do have some kind of hope with Jimmy Gunn taking over DC. He strikes me as the kind of guy. Because one of the big things when people always poo-poo Superman as a character as well is that like people have a kind of idea of what Superman is, and they'll imagine things like Zack Snyder movies. It's like, yeah, he's like a all-powerful guy in a realistic world, not realizing that like so much of Superman comics is just weird. Like it's a weird universe they created. It's so like if you read like Grant Morrison's like All-Star Superman run, it's almost impenetrable at times because it's so strange.
Yes.
And James Gunn strikes me as the kind of guy who's like, yes, that's what I'm going for. So like,
yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm thinking he'll be looking at things like Supergirl, and like, well, why not? Why not have witches and stuff? And
honestly, my family walked in partway through after Omar had fallen asleep, and said, "Why are there witches?" And I said, "I don't know."
But I'm glad they were there because they are incredible. Everything they're doing, they had the energy
to the survival of this film.
Yeah, they're giving like Death Becomes Her vibes.
It really does feel like it feels like they had about 10 minutes of an idea for a Supergirl movie. And then they had like a knockoff Death Becomes Her script, and they had scraps of other we've got this coming of age script in here. Like we also had
we had a Bewitched reboot we're trying to make there. Those pages got mixed in somehow too.
Staple them all together, it'll be fine.
Although the thing is though, spin-off. I discovered obviously into some of the research on how the film came to be made. And it's one of those things now, because we've talked, again, on the main show at length about Superman Lives, Tim Burton's abandoned mid-90s Superman movie. And you always have that thing of like, oh, what I would love to have seen what that would have been.
Yeah. And well, now because of The Flash, you did get to, so...
Well, yeah. But that same kind of thing can be applied to like how Supergirl was originally going to appear first in film, because they were making Superman 3, and originally, the villain of that was going to be Brainiac and our old favorite, Mr. Mxyzptlk.
Yes!
And it was
wasn't going to be Robin Williams, was it?
I believe it was supposed to be, I heard Dudley Moore, but Robin Williams back then, I can imagine too.
That would have been brilliant.
And Dudley Moore, of course, the frequent comedy partner of Peter Cook, who is all over this movie, and who I believe had a kind of like Arnie Sly, kind of like Arnold Schwarzenegger tricking Sly Stallone into starring in Stop or My Mom Will Shoot. I'm pretty sure that's why Peter Cook is here. It's because Dudley Moore was like, oh no, I'm too busy, but my friend Peter would really love to be in this movie. And then
I love the juxtaposition of that against Peter O'Toole, who's like, yeah, I would love to do it.
I hate saying this about a female-centric movie, but to me, Peter Cook was the star.
yeah. Oh no, he is terrific. But
He's incredible. Everything he said, like even at the very beginning, one of his first lines is talking about studying black magic from the ancient grimoires.
Here's the greatest crime of this of everything that follows after this film. This is the statement I am going to make, aside from the fact that, aside from that creepy part where Max Headroom is being a creep, I really enjoyed this thoroughly.
Yeah.
In parts.
You enjoyed
part
it
being
so
1 at night,
much.
1 in the morning. But the greatest crime that has left us is that we didn't get a Nigel appearance in Buffy, because I want to see Nigel and Giles go up against each other.
Okay.
These two
Let me
are
ask you
friends,
this,
and
Omar.
I'm tired of us denying it.
And John and Niall, I imagine you're familiar with Buffy as well.
of course, yeah.
My cat is called Drusilla. So.
Okay,
Oh my
well,
God.
there you go. I just would like to briefly highlight the moment in which Nigel says in this film to two witches, he says that they are rank amateurs.
Yeah.
And I just feel like, look, Joss Whedon watched Supergirl 84. I'm just gonna make that call. I'm just gonna say
Yes.
it right here, right now.
Oh,
I have a
1,000,000%.
whole video that I have been planning to make for a really long time, where I just go into everything that Joss Whedon has nicked from specifically Blake 7 to put in Firefly.
Oh, wow. I look forward to this.
I'll take what's the most Dael Kingsmill video for 200, please.
No, I need Nigel in Buffy. I'm with you, because I want to see him up against Giles in that amazing leisure suit he's wearing. And
That felt like a Peter Cook, like, I'm throwing in something. He showed up in this suit, and then Faye Dunaway had to be like, what the hell is this? He's like, it's a leisure suit. I'm being comfortable. I'm being hip with the kids.
I'm not taking it off. It's like, okay, fine, it's staying in.
But to go back, though, because again, I wish this happened. This was a thing that's budgetary, just, could never have come together. But again, original plan for Superman 3 was that Brainiac was the villain. He would have found baby Kara and raised her as his own. So Supergirl would have essentially been like, Brainiac Jr. She meets Superman. I'm not too sure if they were going to be cousins, but she would have fallen in love with Superman, and then that would have like revived her ways. And then the climax of the film,
We took a hard left turn there.
the fact that Brainiac was also in love with her, even though it was his daughter, which is like,
Okay, that's
all
weird.
right,
Don't like that.
okay. Okay, they get no benefit of the doubt anymore.
But the climax of the film was going to be through Mr. Mxyzptlk's powers.
Yes.
Brainiac, Lana Lang, Supergirl, Jimmy Olsen, and Brainiac traveling back to the Middle Ages. And there would have been a giant battle there, and it would have ended them with them
Can you
brain
imagine
wiping
the budget
Brainiac.
on this thing? All of
And
the Superman
leaving
effects
him
plus
as like a kind of mind wiped serf just in the Middle Ages, and that was like, we're just abandoning Brainiac there. That's going to be him. And Supergirl and Superman hook up, and then they were just like, no, this is spiraling out of control. They eventually made the Richard Pryor movie that we all know and tolerate. Eventually, then I think they were like, "Why did we want to do Supergirl though?" And this movie feels like it was a constant like uphill battle, because like when they were coming out and they're like, Superman 3 has flopped, people hated it. We need to revive the brand. We have to make this movie good. And then, like, literally 2 months before it came out, the Supergirl comic was canceled because people were just losing interest. And then a year later, in DC Comics, altogether, Supergirl as a character was killed in Crisis on Infinite Earths, and she stayed dead
Oh my god.
for like 12 years. So
That's
Supergirl,
right.
the movie, is coming out in the midst of just like, and again, the little things I noticed, like looking into it, like you look at the release dates, and it says like, it was released in July of '84 in the UK, in November of '84 in the US.
Seriously,
Perfect.
what?
And it's just down to like, it was funded by the Salkins, the who kind of were like the Broccolis of the Superman mythos. They did all the movies, and they self-funded. They're like, yeah, we're pumping money into the Supergirl movie, and then Warner Brothers are going to distribute it for us. And I did note at the beginning there was no Warner Brothers logo. It just starts. The movie just begins.
Right.
Yeah.
And apparently that was because when Warner Brothers saw it, they were just like, oh, we don't want this. We're not dealing with this. And so, yeah, eventually they had to shop it around, and it went to TriStar or someone, and then they were just like, yeah, November, there you go. The film was out in video in Japan by the time it got released in the US.
Wow.
And so it was a real uphill battle. And then had to fight against all the things of just like...
Well, have you ever seen that thing on Netflix, Movies That Made Us? And there's all these, it's Forrest Gump and I don't know, like all these movies where you're like, wow, they really had to push to get this masterpiece made. Wow, what could have been if, Home Alone wouldn't have happened because they wanted to shut it down. They didn't understand what a masterpiece it was. And then you watch this and you think, maybe that should happen sometimes. Oh, burn!
Wow.
Although now you mentioning hooking up with Superman in that. Now it's not just me who thought this, right? When she's in her what's her name? Her friend Lucy.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
Lucy Lane. I have to say,
She's
all the
got
times,
a post.
all the times I saw this as a kid, I always had a bit of a thing for Lucy Lane. I was always
Yeah. I mean, if I was age
My
appropriate,
brother was
I
like,
would.
why is she covered in dirt? I was like, she's a tomboy, Reese. All tomboys are covered in dirt.
That's how you know they're tomboys.
That's a classic thing. Cropped hair, baseball cap, cockily tilted to the side, dirt in her face.
Yeah.
Tomboy. That's the classic thing. That's how you know.
But it's not just me who thought this, right? When she goes to her room and she sees there's a poster of Superman, like Linda, like caresses it almost like, oh, who's this hunk? You're
Definitely weird. Like, because it's difficult to interpret it as being like in awe of Superman because it's like, okay, but you're very well versed in what Clark's been up to on Earth.
Yeah.
So it feels like you shouldn't be having this reaction. So then I have to attribute it to something else, and every other option is weird.
Yeah, I mean, it's not unheard of for maybe cousins to fancy each other, but you don't put it in your movie unless it's a French movie.
It's a thing from the comics too. When they have a very famous issue, like way back in the Silver Age, of like Kara and Clark potentially hooking up and potentially getting married and stuff. And I think he ended up finding it. But yeah, there's some little weird things too, like because she chooses the name. Why did they have to add in this detail too? She's there. She's like, my name's Linda. Sees a portrait of Robert E. Lee.
Robert E. Lee.
Yes.
And it's like, yes, that is the man I'm naming myself after. I'm Linda
Of all
Lee.
the Lees they could have had on the wall.
And then where did Linda come from? Where did that come from?
and then she accidentally calls herself Kara. I'm like, why didn't you just call yourself Kara?
Yeah.
It's not that crazy a name. Like, okay, it's not particularly
your
common, but it
cousins-
sounds like a name.
Your cousin's Clark Kent, Kara Kent. There you go. It's done.
It's also like this is like this isn't really criticism of the movie. This is kind of just like a lesson to take away, folks. If you're talking to someone, you go, "What's your name, by the way?" and they go, "My name's Ben IKEA shelf." Just be prepared. Like don't get stunned. Like ask a follow-up question.
But the little things like that, though, like I alluded to at the start, the sheer amount of baffling coincidence. Every story point is like, so very at the beginning, Zoltar just happens to have this power source in his hand because he nicked it for whatever reason.
To be fair, I think he does, if I remember rightly, clarify why he's got it. I think it helps him with his work, with his magic wand
Yeah,
or
he's
something.
not
It
supposed to
brings
have it.
the dragonflies to life, yeah.
Yeah.
And so he gives it to Kara, who immediately loses it. I was shocked too. He just takes the blame for himself. So he's just like, no, security officers come over to like enforce that. Like he's just like, well, I lost that, so I have to go to the Phantom Zone now. And it's like,
I have to be
The
punished with
layers.
eternal suffering.
Layers, because it's like, here, Kara, play with this very powerful thing, and then she loses it, and then it's the fact that they were all having their grown-up conversation over here, not watching her, and then she loses the Omega Hedron.
again,
And then-
like she's like 5 years old. Like it was just insane.
And then they all as soon as the crisis is over, they're like, well, we've only got 2 days worth of air and power. Good going. And then they all turn away from Kara again. And in the meantime, she goes and climbs into the pod for some reason. And then you have Zoltar be like, well, I hope you enjoy dying slowly. It'll be quicker than me.
Oh, well, you're all screwed.
I'm a head out. I'm a head out to the Phantom Zone.
You're all going to like suffocate to death here. I'm gonna go and like just drink in the Phantom Zone.
Yeah.
And just hang out there by myself. It's almost as if he was looking for an excuse to get away. He's just like, no, I definitely have to go to the Phantom Zone. No, I don't mind. It's okay.
It played for like an hour for me that I was like, what is his master plan? Like, clearly he set this all up. Why? And then this morning when I was finishing the movie, I was like, oh, okay.
It would actually be quite a good twist if it turns out he is a villain and it was like his thing all along.
I guess I gotta go to the Phantom Zone now. And I was like, ooh, are you gonna go like recruit Zod? Like what's I'm in like the MCU mindset, right? Where I'm just like, how is this all? And he's just like, anyway, I've been here, I'll be here for forever.
And that's also little questions I had, like you mentioned in Zod there. So that's a big thing in the first two movies is oh yeah, Zod, General Zod and his cronies are sent to the Phantom Zone. And then in Superman 2, it's like a big thing. Was just like, yeah, there's other Kryptonians. Oh my God, this is amazing. And then this movie's just sort of like, oh yeah, we all know Superman. We all know your cousin Clark. Does he know? Does Clark know that there's a Kryptonian city floating around?
Just observing him.
Yeah, would he not be like, I need to go and meet, or one, he might be like, I need to go meet them because A, that's family, and two, they might be other Kryptonian psychos like General Zod and stuff, so I need to go sort this out.
I feel like this question we're going to have to cycle back around to because it's a big one, but I do have some questions about the location of Argo.
Okay.
but we can get back around to that because it does seem like there must have been a plan, right? It feels like the Omega Hedron flies out the paper thin walls of this city, and then it immediately heads to Earth and lands in the dip and the picnic, and it's like okay,
conveniently in America, which is exactly where her cousin is.
Yeah.
Again, you're saying Josh Whedon watched Supergirl 84, Sam Raimi, when making Spider-Man 3. It's like, how am I going to get this symbiote to Peter Parker?
Yes.
It'll just lands next to him. There you go.
Oh, and also the rods, too. Not to hop around, but if we're talking about Spider-Man 3 connections, when Selina is trapped in the rods by Kara, I was like, hold on a second, this is a little Spider-Man 3 action here.
They're all hacks.
Everyone's just copying Supergirl.
This movie has influenced countless hours
when you
of
look
cinema.
at them, when you look at any movie and you analyze it for long enough, it's just Supergirl deep down.
Yeah. Right, let's go back over all the Batman movies now. Yeah. We're going to look for Supergirl.
I was exceptionally excited, and I don't know, I doubt Dael and Omar, I doubt you guys knows this. John, you might have, but it was a long time ago. But there is a Batman 89 cameo in this film that I had to pause it to record to send to people. But like, did you know that this was in there?
No, I didn't recognize it.
Okay, so when Selina and our friend Bianca, when they first opened this box thing to unleash the Forbidden Planet invisible monster, a sound effect kicks in and it goes like. And like, as soon as I heard it, I was like, I know that sound. And that sound is from the scene in 89 when the Joker's just like, well, if we can't come to an agreement, we'll just shake hands and that'll be it. And he holds out his hand to the guy, and the guy takes his hand, and then you hear, and it's the Joker's joy buzzer. And then he starts doing we got a live one here. And I was like, that's it. That's
recognizing that is a superpower. No one else would have recognized that.
You say that, Dael. Thank you for the compliment. But I was so excited about it, and I knew two people who would probably already have known. And it was one of our friends on the show, Rob, and another friend of ours via the show, who's up and on, but my friend Georgie. And she's obsessed with Batman 89. And I sent the clip to both of them. And they both instantly came back with, yeah, it's used in Superman 3 as well. I was
What?
like, it knocked the wind out of my
Joking.
sails because like, oh, I've spotted this thing. No one else is going to point this out. And then they're like, yeah, we know. Like,
Well, you've got 3 new fans here.
and then I went and verified what the Rob specified the scene in Superman 3. It's like, it is indeed used at the end of Superman 3 as well. But
You're joking.
It's just back in the 80s on Warner Brothers movies. They just had like, yeah, that's our big deck of sound effects over there. Just go and get a laser or a beam or something like that, and there you go.
So this is your Wilhelm scream.
Yes.
Like I think you now get to claim this sound.
Oh wow! So yeah, but now what should we? what should we name
Niall
it?
in the name. You know.
Yeah.
I'll ruminate on that for a while. By the end of the episode, I'll come back to what we should call this the sound effect.
Is it possible to get, while we're talking about the city of Argon, is it possible for me to get a
I
little
think
justice?
it's Argo.
It is Argo.
Argo.
Because I just kept saying to myself.
I only attached my memory to it because of mythology.
Oh, I was more thinking of like, go fuck yourself. The Ben Affleck classic Argo from 10
Yes,
years
which they were referencing when they were making Supergirl 84, yeah.
Of course.
Again,
of course.
every movie, you just analyze it long enough, you'll realize. Can I get a little justice? Because here's the thing. We're watching the movie. This is well before the incident. We're watching the movie, and Dale asked the question of, well, how do you get from that city to Earth? And I was like, well, it's from inner space to outer space. And the harassment, the mockery that I suffered, the attack on my character that I suffered as you mocked me. I had subtitles on. I was looking at it.
But
You are
treating
absolutely
it
correct.
as
They
if
talk
it's
about
an
it.
Answer. No. This is not what happened, and I will not sit here and let this slide. Okay.
Death by 1,000 lashings, it turns out.
What happened was that we were talking about it, and I was like, I was casually talking about it as a Kryptonian city, and as not being on Earth, and Omar was
Yes.
like, well, I mean, is it really Kryptonian? And I was like, yes. And he was like, but this is inner space and Earth is outer space. And I was like,
Yeah, but where's
that
Krypton?
supports my thing. That supports from their perspective. Theirs is inner space and Earth is outer space.
But I was so, because it seems that when she leaves in the pod,
Yeah.
and she seems like she comes down from the sky into the water,
And
and
she
then at the
lands
end of the movie, she
This
goes
is
back
what I'm
underwater.
saying. And
Yeah.
then she just
Oh, it's
keeps
in the
going
lake.
deeper, and
Yeah.
Argo's just in the lake.
It's in the lake.
It's not even the ocean. I am so
I've always-
confused because we
I
saw her
personally-
fly through space. We saw it.
We used to, this is really kind of an American thing and a Californian thing, but like there's a lake called Lake Tahoe. It's a very big lake and it's very popular. A lot of people go to it. When I was a child, it captured my imagination. There's also Tessie, the local cryptid of Lake Tahoe that
Tessie?
people often see.
Like Nessie. Oh.
Holy moly, I really think this was just full on. Like, we just remade the Loch
The
Ness
US has
Monster
to
for
steal
American
everything.
audiences.
They have to have
It's
their
not-
own version of everything.
The American reboot. Yeah.
It's an improvement on the original for many reasons. I couldn't begin to list if you asked me. We don't have the time for me to tell you how different Tessie is from the Loch Ness Monster. We simply would run out of tape if we started that conversation. But yeah, anyway, it's always captured my imagination because it's a huge lake. It's, a landlocked lake as lakes are, and it's deep, and you always do wonder, the ocean's one thing, but what's at the bottom of a lake? And this movie is wonderful because it answered it for me. It's a Kryptonian city, and it makes perfect sense that if you just swim down far enough, there's just a blinking little city that runs off of a magical little a glowing orb. And in order to get to and from, you got to go into a pod, except at the end you don't.
And also, you have to get from there, you have to travel via space, but to go back to it, you have to go via the
lake. And she doesn't have superpowers in Argo, but she does have the superpowers to get to Argo when she is going from Earth.
Oh my god! It was
It
like
just-
all she had to
it's
do was
just-
just fly up into space. That's all she had to do. Like,
Okay, I'm still on this pod situation. Okay, because there's this pod.
Where's the
and
hang up?
I assume that Zoltar was planning. Like, this is me just trying to piece together a coherent story, which is my first mistake because that's not what this movie is about. But I'm assuming that Zoltar was going to take the power source and take the pod and go to Earth and do X, something. If we assume good intentions, he was going to explore and learn what the hell a tree looked like.
Yeah, if he also knew that like Clark Kent had superpowers on there, that would explain like, so when I go there, I'll bring some like uniforms. That's why there's a Supergirl outfit in there. She's like, I've got like several super suits just in case.
So it seems like he had some intention of going there. When the orb gets sucked out of Argo, and they're all like, well, we're gonna die now. I just assumed that Kara was getting into the pod because she was gonna go after the orb to find it, right? Which I guess is true in a sense. But it just flies directly to Earth. And so now I'm like, okay, is it just a coincidence that the orb was going to and then she doesn't look for the orb actively for half of the film. So she just goes to Earth, and I'm like, "Oh, okay, rip your whole family and city then, I guess." Yeah. I just, what was the pod about? What was it for?
Also,
was it keyed to the...
But that's another layer of just like, so I've mentioned I don't know Earth, but Zoltar's mentioned a tree. I've never seen a tree. Now this power source that he gave me just happens to be going to the same planet we were talking about there mere seconds ago. Seconds/months, however long she was in the pod.
There's
a couple, I gotta say, it's interesting. There's a couple connections that Zoltar has with Earth. I'd like to list 3 of my favorite ones that I noticed in this film that are interesting. Connection number 1 that Zoltar seems to have is his knowledge of trees. Okay, so number 1, trees. Okay, later in the film,
I was going to bring up the horse.
In Act 3, and I've got 3 of them. I want to be clear. Okay, second one, as mentioned by Dael, her favorite animal, the majestic horse. Yes. Zoltar mentions that. And third, there is a third Earth reference. It was actually really subtle. This one was a little sneaky. I was surprised by it, but Zoltar makes a very subtle reference to Earth that only someone with a direct connection to Earth would have, which is a reference to the film Star Wars: A New Hope when he does the Obi-Wan Kenobi move. And I think that he's really telling us he's caught up on Earth, flora, fauna, and the Star Wars films.
If you had been awake, you would have gotten so much Obi-Wan Kenobi commentary from me if you were awake.
Okay,
but you weren't awake.
Wild.
And also, you didn't mention that he brings up trains, so take that.
He does bring up trains.
What's this for?
That was so many little baffling things of like, so Kara understands 6-dimensional mathematics and things like this, but then things just like, what's a train and stuff is like, but surely maybe an arc, wouldn't they have something like a train on?
No, they're so advanced now. They've got these magic pods.
Yeah, they got the pods. The pods take you.
And the pod is amazing. Like, the whole pod sequence is so trippy. It made me think of like 2001, Space Odyssey. You know, I felt like I was on something.
I'm sure that's probably they were just directly ripping that off. They're just like, swipe from that.
I can't get over the. Okay, so I at first assumed that the point of them bringing up that she wasn't very good at maths on, not on Krypton, in Argo, which might be at the bottom of a lake. She wasn't very good at maths in Argo, but then at school she's really good at maths. Like she just knows the answer. And at first I assumed that was like a reference to, even someone who's bad at maths, who's Kryptonian, is so advanced that they just understand.
Yes,
that's what I thought.
That was my assumption. Yeah. But then she comes out of the classroom and she says, it's 6-dimensional geometry. I never understood it before. And that makes me wonder whether the implication is that Earth's yellow sun has not only given her flight, but also just made her brain better. Like, she's just smarter now.
There's a
which
third
I kind
option.
of hate.
There's a third option then. I'm going to offer you a third option that I think you might like this one. Nigel, excellent teacher.
The very best.
Teacher. Like, genuinely, like, I mean, watching that scene, I knew what he was talking about. I knew what he was teaching. I know what they cover in that class.
When he showed up
That
in that
was a rich school. They had so many computers.
Yeah.
So, but then so the I keep wanting to call it the dodecahedron, but the power source when it lands in the
D20, yeah.
when it lands in the picnic dip. Also, I believe they made up the character of Selena for the movie, and then to have her introduced sitting on like a tiger
Yeah,
rug.
because she was from the other script.
Which
Well, Dael had a theory.
What?
About who Selena was.
Oh no, I asked the question because I am very aware that in DC they kind of only know like 6 names. so really when you like, there's a lot of Cassandras, there's a lot of Kanes, there's Cassandra Kane, you know what I'm saying? And so I was sort of at first I was like, okay, her name is Selena. Is she going to be Catwoman, or is this just a different DC universe character named Selena?
Her and on a tiger rug too is almost like a little cheeky like Selena.
Exactly. But then immediately afterwards, she picks up the omnihedron, whatever it's called, out of the dip. She doesn't wipe it off. Nothing. She just holds it. She holds the dippy little orb in her hands. And then she gets really ominous. And I guess I wasn't paying attention to their conversation about witchcraft because I was like,
sounds like someone
what
was falling asleep.
happening? Well, I was having to pay attention to you talking about inner and outer space, okay?
So I was also baffled by that, but many other things of like, so they introduce here like, oh, her and Peter Cook are just having a suit and tie picnic out somewhere. And then when he showed up later as the math teacher, I was just like, oh, for the love of God. Like, because then that's also followed in close succession by like, oh, yeah, so this is Lucy Lane. She's Lois Lane's cousin. And just be like, Jesus Christ, does everybody know everybody on this goddamn planet? What the hell's going on?
That blew my mind. And that she's also going out with Jimmy Olsen.
That was troubling.
And then for Kara to be like, oh, yeah, Clark Kent's my cousin. And for Lucy Lane to be like, oh, really? Wow, that's a crazy coincidence. Because my sister is basically shacking up with Superman. So what are the odds? But
it would be like if the Teen Titans got together and they were like, hold on a second. You Batman's sidekick? Wait, what?
But I was also, and maybe it was explained in the film. I didn't quite get. But is Selena prior to the D12 landing next to her? Is she already a witch, or does that grant her the like? Because it seems like she was.
I had the same question, but after the movie finished, I think I came to the conclusion she must have already been a witch.
Yeah.
She's already a witch because the other one, I can't remember the other one's bloody name. They're both witches already. And I think that's why she's with Nigel. It's because they are both studying the ancient grimoires.
See, that's the one that passed me by. I just kept being like, why does Nigel know about magic? It took me the whole movie to be like, magic. Is he a witch?
Not only does he know about it, but he does something amazing later on. He gets that that weapon, the Burundi wand, pure, unadulterated evil.
But I was also baffled by that too, because it's like, yeah, he's very specifically a mathematics teacher, and then I guess that's his little character quirk. It's like, yes, I've
mastered black arts.
It's like I've mastered
a little
like
Jenny Calendar situation.
Oh, there you go. Oh, Josh, she strikes again, of course.
Thief. We're calling you out.
If you noticed, like the original script for Buffy had like her changing her hair color. When she goes to school, she's brunette. When she leaves school, she's blonde. That's
my gosh, Hannah Montana. It's just Supergirl 84.
Oh my God.
That is genuinely something I loved in this movie. Like the way she's actually using her brain to be like, okay, well, when Clark Kent changes into Superman, it's ridiculous. Yeah, like, it's obviously the same guy.
Even on the city of Argo, they're like, he's just putting glasses on. Jesus Christ. Don't you know that you can manifest new clothing and you can change your entire physical appearance? Seemingly at will?
Well, I know part of with Superman, it's meant to be as well. The way he's presenting himself makes you just not see it. You know?
Very
I get
true.
That, I get that.
And
But she's thinking on another
my
level.
friend Scott Nicewonder would make the argument that no one is looking for like a secret identity for Superman because they're like, oh, this alien is here and he saves us sometimes. No one's, and they do, you know, he's got his Fortress of Solitude, so no one's like looking for Clark Kent because no one thinks that Superman is pretending to be someone else half the time.
Oh, absolutely. I think that is part, a bit like, you know, they talk about in Kill Bill. You know, Tarantino loves that whole bit where, you know, I think it's meant to be Superman sort of taking advantage of humans being unaware of things and not being sensible and smart. And
but remember David Carradine saying like, "Oh, Clark Kent is Kal-El's critique," which almost makes us feel as if like Kal-El's come to Earth and is like, these fucking dorks, and they just can't do anything, and they're always bumbling and fumbling around. Yeah, I'm taking the piss out of them the whole time.
It's
These
a comedy
human beings,
routine.
They can't land a date if they tried.
See, I get all of that, but at the same time, if you have the ability to just change your hair color in an instant,
for sure,
why would you not take advantage of that for a disguise?
And also her understanding that she can, like, when she shows up, there's a little, again, like, I was having to say to Rob at the time, just like, yeah, Zoltar was up there going like, so I guess I'm doomed to a lifetime of torment on the Phantom Zone. And cut to Kara just like down on Earth boogieing away, just having a great time. There's no ticking clock whatsoever. But yeah, so instantly she appears out of the lake in the outfit already. As if she's
that shocked me, right? Why is she in the outfit?
And then she seems to sort of like take about 2 seconds to learn how she, and then when she sees like, oh, there's people in a uniform, I guess I must like manifest this uniform somehow.
And she manifests like 4 other outfits before.
And a couple of the others are nice. I quite like them, but I understand why she has to have the uniform.
Yeah. I will also say, there's that bit where she fights the storm dragon, the whatever.
I absolutely
the invisible
love
beastie.
that. Yeah.
Incredible. I am confused about its place in the larger storyline, but I did enjoy it. But then she comes back inside, and the like dorm matron, I don't have a better word for it, is like, get out of that stupid costume and put your uniform back on, which is already wild because it's like after hours, so why would she, but okay. But I think that's really funny because it's such a reverse of Superman where no one is looking for Clark Kent, no one can see that Clark Kent is Superman, and in her case, she's been Supergirl this whole time. She's not very good at hiding it, but no one believes it. They live in a world with Superman, and people just keep being like, what's with the costume? Even after she does some superheroics, they're like, what's this about? Did you just fly? Like, it takes so long for everyone to register that she's not just a fangirl.
Yeah. That's true, actually, because those would-be rapists, they seem to acknowledge that she's legit, right? They seem very aware. Oh, she is like a super person, like Clark Kent, well, like Superman. But they still mess with her. It's like, hang on, you know what super people can do?
Yeah.
Oh,
What are you trying this on?
They watch her, like, blow one of them into a wall or whatever, and then the next guy's like, well, I have a knife. Like, what do you think it's gonna do? What do you think it's gonna do? And then the knife gets lasered, and he's like, well, I'm gonna fight you with my... Stop. You need to stop. You need to lie down.
The complete contrast, though, from like the beginning of Batman '89, the two guys, you know, shooting Batman, and then just hearing the gravel and turn around and seeing him stand up again, and the look of sheer terror on their faces, like, we shot him, and yet he's still coming at us. And then these guys are like, one guy got blown clear across town, and she said that she's Superman's cousin. Guess I'm gonna go over there with this knife and just see maybe things will work out for me this time. It's like,
But you know what?
It
It
possibly
would've.
go wrong.
During that last confrontation, every new thing that was happening, I was like, oh, if only she could fly, so she didn't have to walk on this uneven ground. If only she was invulnerable, so things falling on her didn't. Like, every single thing that happened, I was like, girl, you have superpowers. I'm gonna need you to step up.
Oh, I'll tell you what, when she does, I know it's quick now, you mentioned that, but when she does discover her powers, I actually thought that was a very sweet sort of moment for her to
that
spend
whole
the
sequence
time
was
on.
gorgeous.
Yeah.
I
Apparently-
loved that scene.
Unless I misread this, because obviously I'm just reviewing the movie, I'm not combing through it minute by minute. Apparently that was really edited down for the US release originally. And they basically just had like 2 shots of it. Ah, yeah, she's flying. There you go.
For our delicate
US
sensibilities.
Americans, they can't go more than 5 minutes.
I believe there's like a good 20 minutes missing from the movie. I think it might have been put back in for like director's cuts and stuff, but like it was very one of the things
That's
I really
my favorite part of the movie.
Well,
Same.
it actually is very like it is just a nice little just like someone like bursting with bright optimism, then like, oh look, all the stuff I can do now and stuff. It's quite a sweet
When
moment.
she crushed that rock, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And it's a good way of having a strong, powerful sort of character that's not all about, whether a woman or a man, that's not all about sort of like, oh, yeah, I'm tough, I'm hard, like machismo. She's enjoying the beauty of this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not all might makes right with Supergirl.
Yeah.
It's
It was, little Miyazaki sequence we got of just
Yes, actually, very.
wind and grass.
Can we get Miyazaki Supergirl, please?
Oh my god.
should also
I
mention
would
actually
live for that.
this wasn't done. I did mention the John off mic a couple of days ago. I was like, oh, people are gonna think we're doing this because of the recent announcement. But like we have this episode's been on the books for a while because it's just like Hart Wagner, Supergirl. But why wouldn't we talk about it? But this week they have, of course, announced the new Supergirl as well for the Jimmy Gunverse, and it's Millie Alcock from Hot D, the House of the Dragon.
I think it's such a sign of where we are with like the entertainment industry that every time they announce one of these things, it's like, hey, they're making more content about a character or thing that you love. I get so stressed.
I want them to stop.
Well, that one too was just like, I remember people saying like, yeah, it's so weird. It's not trending. It's not trending that they've cast a new Supergirl. It's like, we just had a new Supergirl like last year. Like, but there was one just happened. Like,
And no matter what people thought about that in general, she was great, I thought.
yeah.
Yes.
Very different interpretation of the character but then it was a very different backstory for the Sasha Cowles.
Oh yeah. Oh, it couldn't be more different. Jesus. Where were the dragonflies?
Okay, so
Where
really
was
quick,
the Omega
does
Hedron?
Yeah, where were the
make
Baphomet
a-
statues randomly falling on people?
I do love the Baphomet statue bringing down the house, quite literally.
I will say though, because I didn't watch any of the Supergirl TV show except the pilot episode. I was like, oh, I'll try to tune in for this. And my big takeaway from it, and every clip I've ever seen since, is just like, yeah, this isn't for me. But Melissa Benoist seems like she's really great. Like she seems like she's so invested in playing that character.
Glee's own.
And that's always one of those things too. Because she was obviously in like Whiplash and stuff. She came from like the indie film world. So now I'm almost a bit like, I hope she gets back to doing like proper like credible stuff, because now I'm worried she's gonna be stuck with like I'm just Supergirl on TV. Like I don't want her to be
Right.
Terry Hatchard, because Terry Hatchard, of course, like amazing Lois Lane, like the best Lois Lane. But then she did say like she years after Lois and Clark ended, she was in tears, going like, is that my career now? Is that all I'm ever going to be and stuff? And she was so happy when she got Desperate Housewives, because she's like, finally something new.
Good for her. That's great.
And,
Good
is,
for
yeah.
her.
But I did note though, in that pilot of Supergirl, randomly just throw in, oh, by the way, here's Jimmy Olsen again as well. It's just like, well, that's what they did in the movie. So of course, Supergirl and Jimmy Olsen is always going to be a thing. It's like, and then in that movie though, they put in, or in the TV show, they introduced the concept of hot, sexy Jimmy Olsen. Where this guy showed up and he was just like this mountain of a man, all muscles, and he's just like, "Hey, I'm James Olsen," and you're like,
Jimmy
"What
Olsen.
the hell is this?" And knowing we're also getting
Cowards.
like the Jimmy Olsen we're getting for James Gunn's DC is, of course, Skylar Gisondo from Santa Clarita Diet. And when they announced him, I was just like, that is the greatest casting. That is like, you could not ask for someone more perfect for a Jimmy Olsen. Whereas the guy, like, I'm fully aware that they really wanted Christopher Reeves in this. I believe the original plotline was going to be that Selena is casting the love spell on Superman, and that's why that whole thing is.
Okay, that makes sense. See, that works for me.
That's really good.
But then Christopher Reeve was just like, nope, I'm done. I'm done with all of this.
Which
Walked
is
away.
fair. That's totally fair. But can I ask for the filmmakers to replace the character of Superman in this storyline with anyone other than Ethan the Gardener?
Can we, okay, really quick, Dael had Dael and I have been friends for at least 2
Where
years
is this
now.
going? At least
And-
two.
At least, yeah, well,
I have witnessed Dael have many reactions to many things. Some of them joyous, like going to Disneyland and seeing dinosaurs. Some of them
Not at the same time.
Some of them distraught, like going to see Romeo and Juliet at the Opera House.
It was really bad. It was a really bad production.
I have never heard such a charged reaction from one Dael Kingsmill as when she thought Ethan was trying to cut a tree in half when we first see him in the garden.
He had his tiny little sword.
every single scene with him is just absurd.
I just really thought he was trying to cut like the whole half of the tree.
And sorry, for folks who haven't seen this film or might not be familiar with the exact clip we're talking about, when I say cutting a tree in half, I realize what you're thinking. You're thinking chop, 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 timber. No, folks. It looks like Ethan is like, well, this tree branches off at one point. I'm gonna go to the apex of that and just saw right down through the middle of it. That's how you take down a tree.
Oh,
people.
that'll do it.
No, I just love the mentality, though, that seems to have happened of, like, so we've got a story about this witch trying to seduce Superman and casting a love spell. That's a story, right? And people have been like, yeah, that's a good story. Yeah, we can do that. And then they're like, oh, Christopher Reeve doesn't want to do it. Why don't we replace Superman with some guy? It's just like, oh, well,
Literally just some guy.
is he like the president or something? It's like, no, he's just some guy. Does he have any kind of sway? Is there anything particularly charming about him? Is he really handsome? Is he like a
Nothing at all.
supermodel? Is he a
He
man
has
of major influence?
Almost nothing going for him.
He is literally just a guy.
Well,
If we had gotten one damn it Janet from him, though, it would have been perfect.
I think I've realized why, Dael, you hate him so much. Because you mentioned there you went to this awful Shakespeare play.
Yeah.
He spends, once the love potion's on him,
Oh
half
my
of his
God.
dialogue is like Shakespearean dialogue.
This is actually genuinely why I hate him. When you said, I think I figured it out, the first thought that came to my mind is his awful, awful poetic dialogue.
Oh, it's so
he's got
cheap.
the love potion. Oh,
Imagine someone
it's
trying
so-
to seduce you with that. You're like, no, I'm not doing
yeah,
it. Sorry.
you gotta shut it down.
When I was looking through my notes earlier, I did note on one page I have this declaration of love scene, ... fuck. And then on the
Wait,
next...
is that the one where he also proposes to her? Or is that
I'm not sure,
Yeah, it's
because
hard to tell
on the
because
next
he
page...
declares his love for her in literally every scene, but every time it's treated like a new revelation. Like he literally says it the first time he sees her, but every other time he's like, I'm in love with her. It's like, yeah, my guy, yes.
And I did also, literally the next page, I also have this declaration of love scene, ... Jesus.
There's about 50 in the video.
The thing is, like,
But you know
as soon as
what?
he gets out of, like, because the whole thing has... Again, why is Selena into him? Like, she's just like, I'm going to love spell on the guy. And then...
You
what
do
point
physical labor one time, and suddenly everyone is in love with you.
You know what though? It's the gays always get one. Here's my rule about good villains. The gays always get one. And what I mean by this is the movie Aladdin, and I might get in trouble for this from Daddy Disney, but the movie Aladdin, Jafar, the movie culminates into Jafar having Jasmine trapped in a scantily clad outfit. Or at least that's like an implication. There's like a way that it's like played. And if that's a misinterpretation on my part, I apologize. I will reflect on that myself. But there's a change in outfit for Jasmine that Jafar has decided. It never plays to me that Jafar is a straight man going with my powers. I'm doing this.
True.
It's just a thing. The gays always get one. So this lesbian couple has decided to just
They're like,
bring
we need
in
a really
this unicorn to
beautiful
kind
man.
of torture. Yeah,
Just to look good.
It's all
just
about
kind of bat
appearances,
around.
you know. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So
He's
like
set
it's just kind of
dressing.
what Selena and Bianca need, you know, in their moment. In the same way that Iago and Jafar were working out their issues, and kind of just there's always just one. The gays always get one.
Or maybe they're just trying to expand their polycule. You
could
know,
be.
because there's the two of them.
Oh,
There's
very-
Nigel, and now, you know, maybe Nigel needs
Nigel's
a little
not
bit of fun
playing.
too.
Nigel's Nigel's making it complicated. Nigel's coming in with a lot of attitude, a lot of thoughts.
He is, he
also
is
does-
nothing but sass. He's all
One
all
thing-
sass and teeth, Nigel. That's his thing. But-
One thing that I feel like we have to talk about with the best lesbian couple to ever exist, Bianca and Selena, is their housing situation.
Oh wow! Yeah.
I have suddenly, like, it's like my mind has achieved a clarity I never knew it could achieve. When I saw them living in an old haunted house ride, I was like, this is it. This
Goals.
is what I want my life to be.
Not just doing like, but like having like parties there. Like it was like, yeah, we're having a
Sick as
shindig.
hell parties.
Oh, it was a Warhol situation.
With the greatest cocktails. They've got these themed cocktails.
Oh, there's that lady where she like turns her upside down and spins around, and that lady
Yeah.
has the greatest pair of glasses I've ever seen.
the-
Incredible.
Incredible.
Oh, that's another bit that was cut out of the original release.
No.
But
Yeah.
that sequence was cut out of the original release.
Or at least edited down. So you didn't get most of that woman's dialogue.
Because
wow.
And I randomly found out about her, which I was also like, what? Is that okay? So again, a shout out to the amazing glasses, which if people don't remember them, they're like two pairs of lips over her eyes.
Yeah.
I
It's
want
beautiful.
them.
And then I found out that lady, her last credit was in 2022's The Batman. Where she's that random lady who lives with the Waynes. Like,
Oh my god, everything's connected.
well, there's a lady who's
Wait, the
not.
one who suffers the explosion in the mail?
Yeah. So like, when I saw her in the cinema, I was like, Aunt Harriet? Are they doing it? This is Aunt
I
Harriet.
like that you frame it as this random lady who lives with the Waynes and not like an employee.
Well, again, I thought it was going to be Aunt Harriet, so I'm just like, oh my god, they're doing it. And then there's like, no, she's like she is just some lady who works for them. And I was like, oh,
That's incredible.
Wow.
I think yeah, so
wow.
she's really worked her way up. I was like, I was in Supergirl. Now I've moved to Gotham. I finally got over the trauma of being dangled upside down by Faye Dunaway and spun around for a little
People-
bit. And now I'm making good. I'm making good money working for the most eligible billionaire in the DC universe.
Amazing.
I'm gonna say something to throw this like sort of clay pot into the air to see if Dael takes a shot at it,
Okay.
or if Dale's like that's correct and then shoots
This
it with the
lead-in
rifle.
is so long.
When I was in high school and we were starting to enter this era of superhero content, I remember every speech that a student who didn't want to do any work would do would be superheroes are modern Greek mythology,
Oh
right?
my
That was
God.
always like
Oh
the
my
thesis.
God.
And I was always like, "What do you? No, stop it! Stop all of this! This isn't. No, it's Marvel and DC are publishing comics, but I think now, when you mention that crossover, I would venture to say, I do think we are now getting closer to that statement possibly being true, in the sense of you have to do so much research to understand the meta details of cameos in superhero content now, that it's like when someone's like, and we went to the Lotus Eaters, and you're like, well, if you don't know Tennyson, you're not gonna get, you know what I mean? And it's not ancient Greek per se, but
Yeah.
in terms of like high echelon art, where you're like, well, of course you have to study all this stuff before you read Shakespeare and properly enjoy, Midsummer. We are now there. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like The Batman, you would have to go back and be like, so what are the 70 hours of content I have to absorb?
Okay,
And you've got to watch Supergirl.
Look, I would say that you've got a fundamental misunderstanding of what makes mythology, but
Oh, called out.
Interesting. Because I believe mythology is the people who share those stories.
oh my god.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank
No,
you.
I'm
Thank
leaving.
you.
Fight.
Speaking of
walking
mythic
out
stories,
of this
though,
podcast right
I do.
now.
I just want to point out. I don't think it was an intentional nod, but I couldn't help it. Like I have to mention it when, because of course one of the first things when Kara lands is that she goes up a big flies around Chicago, and she's out over the fields. Flying above spirits.
That was
Not
Chicago?
just flying. She instinctively knows how to do the Superman arm.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah,
Yes.
very
I guess
important.
they know everything about Clark. They've been just been just like pervy little voyeurs, just checking out everything
They
the Carol's
actually
are doing.
get the Daily Planet in Argo.
Well, they get the digital edition.
This is because astronaut every time just like flinging the newspaper, and it almost bursts the little bubble every time. Like, no, don't do it! The paper cuts, no. But then the fact too that later
Paper
on,
boy every morning riding by just tosses the
Yeah.
paper and it bursts a hole in the wall, and then our air.
but later on, of course, when they're on the Phantom Zone, there's the statue of the horse as well, which took a little bit of like, and that was one of my big things with Barbie when it came out, because they had the whole joke in Barbie about like, oh yeah, the Ken becomes obsessed with horses and thinks that's the patriarch tells him.
Horses run the world.
And when I watched that, I was a bit confused. It's like, oh, was every man I know, every boy when I was growing up, none of them cared about horses, but who did love horses was little girls. So I was like, that seems a bit of a weird.
That
choice.
is my
Yeah.
experience also.
Yeah. So I think
I will say I am an
don't get me
exception, but
wrong.
yeah.
I believe that it. Yes, you are. Yes. But I believe that it is an enculturated aspect. But that is absolutely where my experience of.
Is
stereotype.
it? I mean, Omar, you might know. Is it maybe more different in America? Is it linked more to masculinity because of like, old tales of cowboys and things like that? Yeah.
Here's. I'll be honest. Like, I don't even have any jokes. And this is speaking as someone who I'm glancing in my room right now. I have at least in my current view 2 horse figurines that I have on display.
And you're the most masked person in the world, so.
We're gonna go ahead and lower that bar a little bit and make that the standard.
Because I feel like Noah Baumbach was writing that into the script, and he's like, men will get this. And it was just one person, Omar, was just like, yes, I understand where you're coming from here.
It's like, yeah, this is where my sense of patriarchy comes from. I'll be honest. Growing up as a cis silly boy, and in an area that had tons of stables, I had friends that tended to horses and stuff. I think it was for me. It was I grew up in the Lisa Frank era. It was all kind of, if you liked horses, you were one step away from dolphins. Was kind of the comparison chart. So in my experience, I can't say that boys grew up loving maybe being cowboys. But it was never like.
Well, here's my
a
read,
horse in
okay?
general.
Because we've got 2 data points that we're working with, which is Barbie and Supergirl 84. My read is
The
that.
only two that matter.
Yeah, my read is that in Supergirl 84, it's about nature, right? Like he likes trees, he likes horses. He doesn't express
trains.
a like for trains, but if we want to extend it to him liking trains, then there's human ingenuity and like invention and imagination there.
Oh, but the
but
witches
it's-
like trains. They enter rooms in them.
That's
They
true.
drive them.
Yeah. But Zoltar's got this thing. He clearly loves horses and only kind of likes trees because his tree did not look very much like a tree. But
It's entirely from memory, Dale. Come on, like they're not.
Yeah.
There's no stories
But
about
he
trees in the Daily Planet
remembered
every
what
day.
a horse looked like. He was exact on that horse. Believe me, I was the one girl at school who could draw horses, and that is, you can take that skill straight to the bank. If you can accurately depict a horse, you make money. But anyway,
I'm imagining Dale going up to a teller and sliding a piece of paper across the way with a picture of a horse, but it seems like a bank robbery. Like, the alarms get pulled because it 100% is how bank robberies happened in the 60s, but Dale's just like, I want to show you this.
yeah,
I want
actually,
you
you
to
know
look at
what?
this and
That's
tell me what
very
you
much
think.
the energy of me as a 3rd grader.
I did feel. Oh,
we
sorry,
had
sorry.
we because we had the influence of things like Saddle Club starring a very young Chris Hemsworth, I believe, which I don't know whether you had an equivalent in the US, but I will say in Barbie, I think it's a symptom of Ken's misunderstanding of masculinity. I think that it's meant to be part of the layers of that, is that Ken has gone, I like horses. I also like that men are powerful. So those are the same.
Okay, that's my thinking of the reason they put the horses in, both the shot of Kara flying above the horses and Zoltar having a horse figurine that she's intrigued by, is it being like market research in the case of little girls like horses? So we're putting that in.
That is true on a meta level, but it also represents her freedom, Niall. She's flying, she's free like the horses.
I wonder
Just
though
like a
if
horse.
it's also
She's
a reference
flying just
to
like a horse.
one of the most. If you look into Supergirl comics at all, you will inevitably bump up against the tales of Comet the Super Horse, which
Yes.
is Supergirl's horse who is in love with her.
Good.
And you
Yes.
might be intrigued by this, Dael, in that
Yes.
Comet was a centaur who did, through some sort of magic shenanigans, took a potion that was supposed to turn him into being completely a man, but instead turned him into all horse.
No.
And then so he
every
somehow
layer of this is
he sends out a psychic message to Supergirl, which calls her, and she's like, "Oh, this is my new horse now, I guess, Comet the Super Horse." And apparently, every time when a comet goes past, he turns into a man. And when he's a man, he's trying to get with Supergirl all the goddamn time. She's not aware that it's her horse, Comet. She just thinks it's some guy.
named Comet.
So I don't know I can't remember what they called him. But like, yeah, there's a storyline where basically
You know what?
she's
In
almost
a way, very true to centaurs. Very true to mythological centaurs.
well, it is the superhero comics are the modern day
They
mythology.
are the modern day. Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
Yeah, they're the modern
I believe
day.
Comet has both tried on with Supergirl and Lois Lane over the comic history. So,
Yes,
but I couldn't
yes,
help but feel like
yes.
them bringing up a horse specifically. Like it's a little nod to Comet.
I just
there.
suddenly
Just,
want to clarify what I was saying earlier. I think that there is some there's some backing to be able to say that comic books are like a modern mythology, but the reason that
listen
it's
to
not
this
a great
backtreading.
the reason that it's not a great comparison isn't what Omar was saying. It's because mythology at its heart culturally is like an oral culture of storytelling, whereas comic books are so deeply visual, and so you end up with a kind of fundamental fracturing in that spot. But I just wanted to
I
clarify
gotta say,
why Omar was
gotta
wrong.
say,
I wanted to say why he was wrong, not just that he was wrong.
I have to say, you in your ivory tower, high education echelon of this. This
Thank you very much.
fancy,
It's a fortress on top of a new mountain.
on top of a mountain. This fancy, expensive oral storytelling. I'm a simple guy. Okay?
Fancy,
I'm an American man.
expensive
I work
oral
with my
storytelling.
hands. I don't have your expensive oral storytelling. I've got
I don't
brass
have mouths.
tax studios pumping out multi-million-dollar franchises. Okay, I'm a simple man like that. So you can take your highfalutin special oral storytelling. I'm gonna stick with the thing that works. That takes 3 years to get done and a couple $1 million in lawsuits. Okay, thank you very much. I'm simple like that.
I just want to point out one note that I made because I was very proud of the joke. Because there's a bit where Ethan shows up in a. The film looks so 70s for something made like dead mid 80s.
Oh
It's
yeah,
so
I would have
70s.
guessed like 78.
Yeah, and he shows up in like a crushed velvet suit, with a little a box of candy in the shape of a heart. And my note was Hart Boxner.
Oh!
And I was just like, I just had to get that out on the air to make sure that it was officially
Holy
stated.
Wow.
That's the social clip right there. Wait really quick. To put our ongoing feud aside, Dale, am I wrong in saying that crushed velvet jacket he's wearing is the one that we picked up at the Crossroads thrift store?
Oh,
last
it's
time we were
very
here?
similar. It's very similar.
You got the actual prop for like jacket.
I'll take a picture in it and send it to you all. I also took it to Australia. This thing went across the planet because I took it to a wedding.
This was doing you a
It
lot of
might be
favors.
the
This
same.
jacket, I think it. Like this is like, this is.
Oh,
things happen when
it's
I'm wearing
paid
this
for
jacket.
itself. It's paid for. My Supergirl jacket, it's paid for itself.
It's paid for itself.
People go up and say, "Yeah, baby, that's right. It is the jacket that Ethan wears." in
You look at it and
Supergirl.
you'll be like,
I know they're
That's
all
orange.
thinking it. Yeah.
Before it slips in my mind, I would like to just mention the first 7 minutes of our commentary as Dale and I were watching this together was about sports teams in the DC universe. And it's funny you mentioned Comet because am I correct in saying that, Dale, you looked it up and like the Metropolis Comets is also one of them?
The meteors.
Oh,
Comets
never
is so much a better
mind.
name.
So close.
Yeah, that's
mind.
good.
The Metropolis meteors.
Oh. Like, I guess we should take some
Someone
time,
else
though.
might have had comets. Like Star City might have had Star City comets.
Oh, yeah. No, actually, that would actually probably suit them more, to be fair. Oh, the kind of Metropolis meteors. Yeah. Actually, no, it's fallen into place. But we probably should take some time, though, just to talk about the fact that, like, Faye Dunaway is the villain in this.
Yes.
And she is hamming it up. She's having a grand old time. And this is her, like, fresh off.
I can't believe the Razzies. They were wrong.
Oh, yeah.
The Razzies are always wrong. I hate them as a concept.
Yeah.
But she's
I find them mean-spirited.
She's fresh off Mommy Dearest, which is another performance of her where she's like, people always mock her, like, Faye Dunaway as Joan Crawford, really overdoing it as, like, a psycho version of Joan Crawford.
Okay, for starters, it's iconic.
I take a huge umbrage, a huge sense of umbrage with that, like, that distinction between, like, this type of distinction between good film acting and bad film acting, because the Oscars is we sit down and they just play 15-second clips of people yelling. Like that's every like best acting like little performance where it's like you think
Either
you can do
yelling
this to me?
or it's a lot of not talking.
Oh yeah, long.
It's a
And
lot
then
of
they
not talking.
say
It's like,
one
where were
thing
you?
very quietly.
Well, you know what? I'm getting dinner, and then everyone claps, and you're like, yeah, I think it is all. Yeah, Faye Dunaway should get an Oscar for this performance. Then, like, if this is what we're saying,
I agree.
Yeah, and she apparently though, because Faye Dunaway is a bit of a reputation, of course, links in once again to because one time you were on for Batman Forever, Omar.
yes,
And went on a lengthy everything's connected about the linchpin of the Batman franchise being, of course, Warren Beatty and Howard Hughes. And
Yes.
and of course, Faye Dunaway, her most recent memorable act was announcing the wrong winner at the Oscars with Warren Beatty by her side. Of course, the two of them had been
I
Bonnie and
love
Clyde
that.
way back in the day. But it's so it feels like it's very much working in the same mentality of the Superman movie, where it's like, okay, so we need a big celebrity to play one of the parents.
Yeah.
So Mia Farrow is just there for like 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And you're
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
that seems like a waste of Mia Farrow. I was like, yeah.
I literally just this Omar was still awake at this point, but as she walked out, I was like, "Why do I know her?" And I looked it up. Oh, it's Mia
I was
Farrow.
the same. I am so stupid. I was like, who's that woman? She's
She's so familiar.
Because the fact that like Kara's dad is just like, oh, it's some guy. Like it's just some random actor.
Yeah.
It's not like they didn't get in like a Brando level celebrity. So that Mia Farrow was the celebrity, but then they just waste her for being there. And then so Faye Dunaway is like everything about the two of those, the Bianca and Selena is like, oh, so Bianca's the Ned Beatty. And Faye Dunaway is our Gene Hackman, and that's like, and you have to have a kind of a goofy sidekick. Although Bianca's like nowhere near the level of like Otis to Lex Luthor is like a complete idiot.
Yes.
Bianca seems like she's just there to give a little bit of snark to everything. And to
Yeah.
just-
It's
Bianca's character and character voice is the attitude and voice that Dael uses every time she plays a Dragonborn in D&D. This is a really specific
This
reference,
is a
but that's all I
lie.
can. It's not a. It's always like, you know what? Maybe I'll just stay over here. Okay, that wall fell. Okay, I understand.
That's your
watching it.
impression of
I was
Bianca?
just. She's so really like, all right. Like it was perfect, like picture perfect in the amount of. Also, that's like a thing she does at the end where she's like, I guess I'm leaving, and boom. Like I said, I'm staying. I'm staying.
she ends up getting sucked into. It's again very like the end of Aladdin, where Jafar
Very,
gets sucked into the
yeah.
lamp and then just takes Iago with him, and then Bianca's just like,
Yeah.
I want to leave. Why the hell am I getting sucked into this as well?
Yeah, she's trying.
I love
She's
that the
not been
subtitles keep
endorsing it.
alternating. Bianca screaming, Selena screaming, Bianca screaming.
That's
so
a
long.
Yes.
That's one of the only other bits I didn't like to him was the end. The end was a bit like I don't know. They just get sucked into the.
Oh, I
mirror
didn't
thing.
understand what's happening at all. It's like,
Yeah.
she like Supergirl lifts her up a bit. And then
Yeah.
the big, which is actually a very cool. I actually
also
thought that big
didn't- oh,
weird
man.
bull demon thing was actually pretty cool.
Oh, there was
Oh,
that
I
one
That was
demon
great.
and the electric
Tim
one.
Curry from Legend. Yeah.
Two great monsters in this movie. I find them both actually quite scary.
Yeah. And then, but I just on this, so now that Selena's in its eyesight, and then Supergirl turns it into a tornado around her, and then she gets sucked into a
Yeah.
mirror.
Yeah,
And it's like,
it's also
what?
it's that Supergirl. Okay, Supergirl has come back, and
Mm-hmm.
and
From a little
she's,
visit
you know,
to...
full of confidence, full of superpower, and she's just kind of not doing anything. Then the demon shows up. Very scary, very scary.
Yeah. Very scary,
But
very
then
scary.
I remember saying out loud to Omar, who was asleep, I remember saying, oh no, Ethan's gonna save her. And it kind of was, and it kind of wasn't. Like, I wasn't stoked still, but...
Hold on.
But it was
I'm
just...
sorry.
It was very, like... I was like, oh no, she's gonna be saved by a man. And she kind of wasn't, I guess, because she had the Ben Kenobi voice come in and tell her, you can do it, Kara. And then she also participated, but...
Go, girl.
Yeah, you go, girl. Go,
I need
power.
to. I'm now learning in this moment. I think I misunderstood earlier. Dael, you watched the entirety of the movie after I'd fallen asleep.
Yeah, well, I didn't have any other
With
time
me.
to watch it.
Well, no,
I paused for a while to wait for you to wake up, and then I was like, well...
That's not my hang up. My hang up is you continue to be on the call with me.
Oh,
because here's the thing.
yeah.
Now-
If you look at the timestamps of those messages, the first one is the minute you fell asleep, and then the next one is the minute the movie finished.
No, here's
I'm gonna
the
pull up
thing,
these
folks.
timestamps.
Here's the thing, folks. I had headphones on as to not have like audio bleed between what I'm watching and my microphone, which means that in my subconscious is at least an hour. When my brain was its most spongy on a daily basis, there is at least an hour's worth of Dael going, oh, yeah, that's a big lizard.
Yes.
It's
Or whatever you
implanted
said.
in you
Like,
now.
oh,
Yes,
yeah, bumper
exactly.
cars, I guess.
Yeah. The first message was sent at 8:06 p.m. and then the next was at 9:03.
Oh my god. This is going to manifest in such horrible ways now.
Yeah, you've actually said a couple things during this podcast that I was like, oh, maybe it did seep in.
You are controlling him.
But before we move off Bianca, I do want to point out another little everything's connected as well. Again, tying back into Mask of the Phantasm, because Mask of the Phantasm obviously features Harvey Bullock as a character, voiced by Robert Costanzo. Robert Costanzo played Joey Tribbiani's father in the hit sitcom Friends, and Joey Tribbiani's mother in the hit sitcom Friends was, of course, played by Brenda Vaccaro, who played Bianca in Supergirl in 1980.
I knew I recognized her.
Hey.
So there you go.
that.
There you go. And also, there was a guy in my secondary school called Brendan Vaccaro. So when I saw the
Any
name pop
relation?
up, I was like, what?
Another Easter egg.
Yeah, it's like everything's connected back to me, I guess.
Well,
Just
Before-
like in the movie Supergirl, 1984. Everything's connected.
before we do sort of get to wrapping up, I've just noticed the time. There's two of my favorite things that I haven't mentioned. That there's two scenes, and they both involve our hated gardener. But they're two of the best scenes in the movie. Number one, he gets chased by an out of control. What do you call it? Just like a digger.
Yeah.
Some kind of digger. Yeah.
That.
Yeah.
It's the stupidest thing I've ever seen, and I love it. I love every second of that chase. It's ridiculous. And even when what's her face? I'm so bad with names. The friend,
Lucy.
Bianca.
Yeah.
Lucy. When Lucy she climbs aboard, she gets
Yeah,
knocked out,
just
and she's still
immediately.
Yes.
I was so proud of her in that moment. I'm just like, oh, Lucy's stepping up. And then it's like, no, it's just introduced. It's just there to introduce more peril. It's like,
Well, but I loved it though because you've got Supergirl there not doing anything for a while, and Lucy just immediately is like, "Well, I'm climbing in and trying
someone
to
has to step
stop
up
this
here.
thing." Love that for her. But then this is seconds before Omar fell asleep. I was like, is she unconscious? And Omar said, no, she's fine. She just turned her head. And I'm like, no, she's fully unconscious. And then Omar was unconscious.
yeah, that was probably Omar. It's just like, I am now turning my head.
That's what we
what's
call
happening.
that's what we call projecting, folks. That's,
You didn't fall asleep at all. You just turned your head.
And I love
Exactly.
too, because obviously I made it. I'll post it up when the episode airs. But I did do a little bit of not photoshopping. It's nowhere near as good as
oh yes.
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
But when Selena comes and takes over the town or whatever happens.
Oh, and teleports like a goddamn mountain.
Oh yeah, the
castle
mountain
thing.
from Close Encounters just shows up or something.
Yes.
That'd be great, like Richard Dreyfuss and Terry Garr just clinging to the side, like Jesus Christ. But I just love the fact that Lucy steps up and she's just like, well, we gotta get out there and do something, and just writes down like Dorm says no to Selena.
Yeah.
G
Dorm. It's like specifically the dorm block that she's on. She doesn't think that anyone like.
Oh my god! I thought
anyone.
for half a second that the bullies that we were introduced to were going to show up during that scene, but no, we just never saw them again.
No.
I would like to note something that happens shortly after that scene when we get to the castle. The windows. It's a detail that I will take with me for the rest of my life that will bring me joy in my darkest moments. The windows are Frank Lloyd Wright windows. It's the Tree of Life Frank Lloyd Wright window design.
Oh, wow.
That's just specifically. I got like some glasses I think that are like of that like design, and it was just a moment where I was like, God, Selena does not like there's no cost cut whenever she's doing anything. It is all camp all the time, where she's just like, we've got a castle on the mountain, and the windows designed by one of the greatest American architects of all time.
She's got to serve, darling.
This is like when we gonna hide out somewhere. It's gonna be a goddamn amusement park, and you better believe the rides are still functioning.
That ties into my other favorite bit, actually. Trying to murder them with amusement park rides. Attempted death by waltzers, by bumper cars, everything is fantastic.
That, like, when they were writing 89, a couple of years later, they're like, well, it's the Joker, so what's he going to do? It's like, well, amusement park. And they're like, we can't do it. It's just been
Supergirl
done.
did it.
Supergirl just did it.
I mean,
God damn it. So what am I going to do?
I mean, really, how much of the stuff in Mask of the Phantasm is not pulled directly from this? You know what I mean? Like,
it's just Abe Vigoda showing up and just been like, if only there was some other way, and then just like Selena appears. I was like, gasp! Can it be? Oh, Sally Louisa Molester.
The line "Down Rusty," originally from Supergirl '84.
I love the sense of threat during the bumper car sequence because he's riding around and like, oh no, what's Ethan gonna do? Get in the bumper car, my guy. They're designed to hit each other. I don't understand.
I love that though, as a advancement of things to set down. It's like, what was one of the big sequences from Superman 78? It was like, well, Superman flying Lois Lane around, like a really romantic scene. Everybody loved it. It's like, we'll do that. Yes. But the guy's in a bumper car that's made up of
exactly
two
what my sister
Chargers are.
And you're just supposed to accept
exactly what my
this
sister
visual as if it's normal. It's just like,
I also love that she picks up the bumper car and she's flying him through the ceiling and he's awake and he's like, oh no, and he shields his face from the ceiling, but clearly gets knocked unconscious during that because he's knocked out on the other side of the ceiling. And then she flies around with him, very romantic with the bumper car present, and then he wakes up from unconsciousness, he gets out of the bumper car on the beach and immediately gets knocked out by a coconut.
Oh, the coconut, yes!
That's the head trauma that Harp
some
Faulkner goes through.
script editor somewhere could have, like, I don't know, combined those unconscious states rather than having to do two separate ones.
I love that fact too. That was like, the same lady who like Peter O'Toole gave her the most valuable thing in the entire city, and she instantly lost it. And then she's like, I'm rescuing this guy, crash him through a roof. It's like, he's fine, right? It's like, no,
so
he could be
unbrand.
dead, you idiot.
I have to say, in that sequence, I stepped away to make a tea, and when I came back, she went, I can make coconuts rain, specifically one place, but I can't change the mind of a man. And I went, hold on, did I miss a moment where she made it rain coconuts? So imagine my joy of just rewinding like 10 seconds and just being like, Selena does not lie.
No, she kind of did do it.
Say many things about that woman, but she speaks truth to power. She
is fantastic. As good as she is, though, I'm Team Bianca. I don't know. I think she's got B. Arthur energy.
Oh no, it's very much like it is.
B. Arthur. And also, this is maybe a deep cut. There's a movie called Desk Set, and best friend in that, Peg. That's the energy Bianca's bringing.
Classic Captain Hepburn, Spacey, Spencer Tracy.
It's so good. Yeah. It's my favorite Christmas
Fun
movie.
fact, it's one of Dale's favorite movies.
That was great film.
Absolutely, that one's true.
You just will forever have Captain Hepburn reciting the reindeer, Santa's reindeer, imbued into my head.
Yes. Dasher, Dancer, Prancer, Vixen.
What do you mean that one's true?
You always, there's so many falsehoods from you.
Although I have to say, actually, just like the next project after this, though, because this film was one. I have to point out, it was written by a guy called David Odell, and he also wrote a little movie that I have somewhat of an affection for, Masters of the Universe from 1987.
Oh, yes.
Same genius put together the two scripts. And then it was directed by, they went to Richard Donner's, no chance, never going to work with those guys again. Richard Lester turned it down, who took over from Donner in Superman 2 when that was falling apart. They went to Robert Wise, who of course did West Side Story and like The Haunting, and he also, perhaps wisely, turned it down. And so the guy they got in was a fellow called Jeanne Suarez. Probably mispronouncing that, but he's like a Polish director. And he did a movie called Somewhere in Time with Christopher Reeve, which kind of feels like a little bit of like a slap in the face. It's like, so Chris,
that's wild. I'm
doing a Supergirl movie. You want to be in it? No. Like, screw you, buddy. I don't want to be in it. But his next venture was in fact Santa Claus the movie with Dudley Moore. And
I've been waiting to talk about it. I know we've only got 2 or 3 minutes.
Yes.
But I'm so glad you brought that up because I was like, this is the next one on the list. If you're doing a film festival and you've got Supergirl, I feel like you have to throw Santa Claus up after that.
Yeah. And it's just like, it's, again, another bafflingly strange film, Santa Claus the movie. Just like, and it also looks so 70s. Like, again, it's just like 85, and it's just like, so we're using the same, everything we used back in 1974, I'm still using now. I was like, dude, update from brown glass, would you? Not everything has to be made of brown glass, for Christ's sake.
Your lens is smothered in Vaseline, but only when there's diamonds.
Yeah.
That's the thing I noticed. Whenever there's sequins or diamonds, that's where we're getting a little bit of refraction on the lens.
It shows glamour.
And this, because we do have to wrap up because I know you have to go, Omar. But again, just wanted to throw out a final shout out to Peter O'Toole in the Phantom Zone, because Zoltar's got a whole other plot line that we're not privy to. Like,
I want that movie.
Because he is a man defeated. Like when he's like, it's a proper just like Zoltar, we have to escape the Phantom Zone. Like, not now, I'm too drunk. Like he's just so defeated. And he's going around with that little satchel going squirt, and trying to squirt, which is so unsettling. And then it's
like, is that your name now, Zoltar? It's like you go by Squirt now. No,
I'll be honest. As a child in the mind, to me it sounded filthy.
Oh, totally. But he's doing incredible work. Again, just feel like the character was just like, I was just looking to get out of Argo anyway to just go and drink in the Phantom Zone. So,
truly.
I will say this, it's a big performance, it's a big choice, but him just sort of like drenched in sweat and muck in a sweater. And
that we had complimented at the beginning of the movie. We were like, nice sweater.
Oh yeah, we did compliment.
And to watch it come back and be totally wrecked, love that. I love that he went straight from that scene to the Phantom Zone.
Yeah, there was no like a prison outfit or anything. Like, you got to go right now.
No. He's like, get me the little. That was the weird thing about it, though. To me, was like, because I always assumed when I was a kid, like the Phantom Zone was some sort of bizarre quantum thing where it's like, oh, you're trapped in that little prism. That is the Phantom Zone. But that's just a method of transportation to the Phantom Zone. But
certainly
I was like,
in this film.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure in Superman 2, like they're just floating around trapped in the prism, like that's the Phantom Zone.
Not so here. Because it also sounds like a separate kind of dimension or something. The Phantom Zone. Yeah. Which again, I believe it is, but in this film they're like, nah, it's a planet.
It's really gunky.
It's
and
just the
horrible.
worst planet.
No one else is there but Peter O'Toole, but it's pretty rank out there. But one thing I just before I have to bring it up because I just love it as a bit of terrible corporate synergy that was just done so callously. But like, if you look up Supergirl headband, you'll see many pictures of Helen Slater from deleted scenes they did for this movie, where she's got a big 80s perm and is wearing a red headband. And apparently this was a thing. I just love this as a thing that they did, where they're like, to tie into the comics, we're going to do a new look for Supergirl. And so they sat down and like, we're going to do a red headband. That's what we're going with. And the filmmakers was like, we're all agreed, red headband. It's great. Yeah, we'll love it. Absolutely fantastic. And then they just decided out of nowhere, you know what? No, looks too, let's get physical, Olivia Newton-John, the hell with that. No, it's stupid. Get rid of the headband. Didn't bother to tell the comics. And so for the next several years, Supergirl was with this big 80s perm and a red headband that was supposed to tie into how she looked in the movie, and the filmmakers are just like, oh no, we're not doing that anymore. No, that was stupid. We're just deciding against that altogether. So it was just a beautiful note that I thought, like, my final notes for that. The fact that the director, John, went on to work on episodes of Jag, which was
yes.
Classic.
And then
Classic.
Batman's
the
Jag
good
race
witch
still
herself.
coming.
Yep. Any day now, Batman's Jag race coming your way, baby. And then how I just wanted to mention how unsettling I found the end credits. Just that, like you're walking through like a graveyard, and all the names are like the tombstones coming towards you. I just thought it was very.
Okay.
And then I love that one of the credits was just masseuse. Like
a much needed role on a film.
It's like everyone there is just like, we're all under pressure. So
That shows you're looking after the actors. We understand this is difficult. Yeah, we're going to supply a little something to ease the pain.
yeah. Like apparently Peter Cook and Faye Dunaway did not get on. So it might have been it's like, yeah, out of my pocket, I'll pay for everyone to have a masseuse.
I'll tell you what, my sort of final thought I've got is, I mean, you know, I like the movie. I've made fun of it. Of course I have, because that's what we do. But I really liked it. And this is going to sound insane. I'm going to be ridiculed for this. I don't care, right? Overall, loved it. Is it the best movie ever? No, right? Is it as well written as Superman? No. Did it need the dumb love story? No. But did I have more fun than watching Superman? Would I watch this more than I would watch Superman? Yes.
And no, I would totally agree. It's a fantastic, like, you know, people coming around and they're like, we need something to put on. It's like Supergirl from '84 will hold the room.
Yes.
Like it will capture everyone's attention.
Whereas as good as Superman is, that it's long, it's drawn out, it's serious. I mean, it's fun, but it's serious at the same time. You've got to invest a lot into that.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah,
Very true.
Whereas this is like, this is just a hoot.
My final thought for this is that we made a note. Omar, as we began the film, said, "Just so you know, this movie has the longest opening credit sequence of all time."
Oh, it does.
So I made a note of it. 2 minutes 37 seconds. It's very long. Absolutely, it is.
Especially
But
when
I
literally
said,
nothing is happening.
Yeah. And I specifically paid attention to it because I remember going to the cinema to see Superman Returns and thinking actively, these are the longest opening credits I have ever seen in my life. They're never ending. And I have gone and double checked, and it's 4 minutes 6 seconds for Superman Returns.
Wow.
So another big tick in the Supergirl 84
Weirdly enough,
column
I
for me.
always recall the two films I regard as having the longest opening credit sequences are Space Jam. It goes on forever. And
Oh, that's so true.
1978 Superman. I remember being a kid going like, holy moly, this is still going? Like, just get the names over with already. Just start the damn film. I'll throw out one final thing, though, just to, again, all in praise of Helen Slater. And she actually followed this up with a movie that's also put down as been so bad it's good that I'd say is actually just a good film. She's in The Legend of Billie Jean, where she plays like a woman who's like sexually harassed, and she ends up like shooting a guy, and she's like supposed to be a teenager, and her brother's Christian Slater and stuff, no relation, and she ends up having to go on the run, but she becomes like a folk hero, and it's very aimed at 80s teenage audiences, but it's actually like a genuinely heartfelt, very good film. Like, it's very cheesy, but it's just like, and it'll forever have a place in my heart for the like ambient score in the background was impossible to get hold of for the longest time, and I always went and checked if anyone put it up on YouTube, and just last year I went and it was there, and it said it had been uploaded like 40 minutes beforehand, and I was like, what? And I had to like scramble to download it because like, it's not gonna be there 40 minutes from now. I have to get this thing while it's here. But Helen Slater, great in that film, and it's a really, really enjoyable romp, The Legend of Billie Jean. So I highly recommend that for anyone out there who hasn't seen it. I do wonder now at this point when Dael gets a message about coming on for a hiatus project, if she's just like, oh God, what's it this time? Like, it's the range of like Purple
live in
Rain
fear.
to The Grinch to Hercules in New York.
The Grinch changed my life. That podcast episode on The Grinch changed my life. The other day, someone asked me, I was talking about Christine Baranski, and so I was like, who's that? And my first reach was, she's the sexy Who from The Grinch.
Yes.
To connect this, and this I guess is a great way to kind of like put a bow on everything. And now we're just talking about The Grinch, but have you all have heard? Did I sent over the Matt Rogers song, right?
From The Grinch? Or...
Yeah. There's a Matt Rogers, who's one of the co-hosts of Las Culturistas, and is an incredible comedian. Matt Rogers has a song about Christine Brinkley's character. It's from her perspective.
Christine Brinkley.
Right? What did I say?
Christine Baranski, isn't it?
Thank you.
Let's put some respect on her name. Thank you so much.
There's one of my friends, Orla. Her Twitter bio is the best Hollywood Chris is Christine Baranski.
That's
Yes.
that's so good.
Yes, that's it. That's the final note.
Oh, that's wonderful. But I will send you all that link, and then when this comes out as a special, completely unrelated to Supergirl treat, we can talk about the Christmas song that is from her character, the only sexy Who in Whoville.
Yes, I'm into it.
Yep. The perfect song to kick off your February, I think.
Perfect timing. It couldn't have been better. We planned it all along.
But yeah, thank you for coming on, guys. Guys, you're always welcome, of course.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Must be nice that we haven't tortured you with a terrible movie in the end. We all enjoyed it. But would you both like to tell people where you can be found online or promote anything you want?
Absolutely. I'll go first.
Okay.
No, you can find me. I'm Dael Kingsmill. You can find me all over the internet, but the main place is on YouTube at Monarch's Factory.
Beautiful.
Where I make videos about geeky things.
Brilliant, beautiful. And I'm Omar. You can find me, honestly, right now, the main thing is the show Daisy Quest. It's an all South Asian D&D show where we have a lot of fun, and I play essentially a character based off of my dad.
Oh.
Incredible.
Yeah, I unpacked a lot of stuff, but it was all very funny. I was just like, man, he's certainly an odd man. I love him to death. He's an odd man.
you have to be polite and say, he's a character.
He's a
character.
He's a character.
Yeah.
He's a character. One time, just to give you a little tease of who he is, this isn't really a self or Daisy Quest. This is just, I'm trying to pitch my dad here. I was having a very serious conversation with him in the backyard. And about music and just kind of art and just, am I sure I want to do this anymore? And then he went, wait, I got him. And he jumps up and he chased 2 ducks out of our pool. And he looked at me and he's out of breath.
Ducks.
And he just has this huge grin on his face like he just won like a sports match. And he goes, I knew the ducks were going in the pool. So that's my dad.
That's a t-shirt for merch right there. I knew the ducks were going in.
Just to add on just a little extra spice and flavor, I have had multiple conversations with Omar's dad about the pool ducks.
Incredible.
So excited to learn that Omar's dad is in fact Tony Soprano. With the,
Oh my god! And on that note, I will say the last thing for me is that my mom said to say hello to everybody, especially her favorite member of the family, Dael Kingsmill, and to also say hello to you both and everyone who listens. So hello from my mom.
Hello, right back at you, Omar's mother.
Yes, that's absolutely lovely. Thank you. That's made my day. That's very nice. But check all of that out. And I won't read all of ours. You know where we are. Go to all the usual social nonsense. And we'll be back soon. What's going to be our next thing?
I think we might be going into our mini season on Batman Beyond.
Yeah,
Return
that
of the
probably is
Joker.
next.
Probably
Although we're
next
going to
week.
have some more stuff over on the Patreon. So go and check that out. More VHS escapades and whatnot. And apparently there's going to be another issue of this goddamn Batman 89 comic when they decide to release it.
And you might be excited to learn, Dael, because I'm sure he's still an iconic figure in Australia. But we will be covering on our Patreon Young Einstein, starring Yahoo series very soon.
Wow.
Very important stuff, that. So check it out. And yes, join us all soon here for more exciting Supergirl action. Now we're done with Supergirl. Bat-minute action.
Must have top,
die Fintabitone.